Hi, Ghost Recaps here. Today we will be going through an action, adventure, and sci-fi movie from 2012, called Prometheus. There will be spoilers ahead in this video, so chill out and enjoy. Thousands of years ago, a spaceship of an advanced humanoid alien race arrived on Earth. The aliens drink a dark liquid, causing his body to disintegrate, and he falls into a nearby waterfall. We watch as its DNA breaks down and recombines, seeding the building blocks of life on the planet. In the year 2089, in a cave in Scotland, archaeologist couple Elizabeth and her boyfriend Charlie discover a star map that is at least 35,000 years old. They match a series of images that they have found from different cultures around the world. They interpret this as an invitation to the forerunners of humanity. In 2093, a spaceship named Prometheus is traveling to an unknown planet several light years from Earth to follow a map, on which 17 crew members are in cryosleep. Taking care of the crew and the ship is a robot named David, who uses his free time to learn more about being human, such as playing games, watching movies, dyeing his hair, and learning ancient languages. He also likes to spy on the dreams of the crew. Later, the ship reaches orbit around LV-223, and David awakens the entire crew, consisting of mercenaries and scientists. Meredith, who is responsible for seeing that everyone is doing their job correctly, wakes from hibernation to inform the crew about a mission. They also show a holographic message from Peter, who was the founder and CEO of the corporation that funded the mission. He tells them that if you are watching it, then understand that I am dead because I am recording it in 2051. Peter has always wanted to know where we come from and what happens when we die. Peter informs everyone that Charlie and Elizabeth are in charge of the mission. He also told that David is like my son. Later, Charlie and Elizabeth explain that pictures found around the world depict a star map, and the only galaxy system to match it was so far away from Earth that primitive ancient civilizations can never know about it. But the surprising thing was that there is a planet in that system that can sustain life. They believe the map was left by some aliens, whom Elizabeth calls the engineers, as their theory states that they were the ones who created the human race, although the rest of the crew are skeptical. Moments later, Meredith calls Charlie to come to her private quarters, where she has her own medical pod and self-contained life support. Meredith explains that she does not believe the writings in the cave mean anything and that she is doing this for Peter, so it is her responsibility to make sure the money is not wasted. If Charlie and Elizabeth find any life on this planet, they will not contact them, which leads them to wonder why they came then, feeling that something is being hidden from them. David has spent the past 2 years learning dozens of ancient languages, and is convinced he can communicate with the engineers, but when he sends a message to the planet, no one answers. The crew decides it is time to land, and the Prometheus enters the planet's atmosphere, detecting no radio signals or heat sources, which must mean there is no civilization there. However, Charlie sees some straight lines on the ground that could not have occurred naturally, and the ship lands in the same spot. The planet's atmosphere was similar to Earth's but with higher CO2 concentrations, meaning the crew would have to wear suits. David also wears a suit, even though he doesn't need it, as it was designed to blend in with humans. The group takes a series of vehicles to tour a pyramid-like structure, and once they are inside, Fifield sends 2 special probes that map the entire area, allowing them to find their way through a series of corridors. When they go deeper, they find a source of water. There was something here that was creating the atmosphere, and while outside it is completely toxic, it seems that inside it is breathable. Charlie believes that these aliens were terraforming and takes the risk of removing his helmet, confirming that it is perfectly fine. Everyone then removes their helmets to continue the search, and David finds a strange fluid and a wall with various symbols on it, which he activates due to his knowledge of the language. Suddenly, holograms of figures running through the corridors appear, and as the crew chases after them, they find the body of an alien next to the door. When Elizabeth inspects the body, she learns that it is 2,000 years old. Fifield states that things are becoming dangerous, so he and the biologist Milburn decide to return to the ship. David manages to open the front door, and they find the alien's head preserved on the other side. Other bodies are found in the structure, and the crew concludes that the species is extinct. The crew decides to take the alien's head to the ship. The room contains insects, suggesting life is possible here, but also a monolithic statue of an anthropomorphic head, frescoes on the ceiling, and stone cylinders. David saw that the cylinders were sweating and that black matter was coming out of them. Elizabeth did not notice as she gazed at the frescoes, which were beginning to change. She thinks they have affected the atmosphere of the room and must leave, so they begin carrying the head in a bag. While David steals a cylinder, he comes to the conclusion that the cave is a tomb. Just then, Yannick learned of a storm that was headed towards them at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour. Meredith insists that if the crew does not return in 15 minutes, she will lock the doors of the ship. The crew runs out of the cave and drives as fast as they can, making it back to the ship in time. But they discover that Milburn and Fifield haven't returned yet. They become trapped in the pyramid structure, trying to find a way out. Yannick manages to contact them to explain that they cannot pick them up because of the storm, meaning they will have to wait until morning. On the ship, Elizabeth and Dr. Ford, with the help of David, remove the heavy helmet and analyze the engineer's head. Using a stem line, they bring the head back to life temporarily. However, exposure to a breathable atmosphere causes the engineer's severed head to rapidly rot and disintegrate. Later, when a DNA test was done on a sample of the head, Elizabeth found that the aliens' DNA matched that of humans, meaning that her theory was correct and that these people created the human race. Meanwhile, David goes to offer an update to a cryosleep pod that holds a mysterious person. Nobody else knows about it except for Meredith, who violently demands David tell her what the person said. David only says that he was told to try harder. Later, David examines the cylinder and discovers several vials containing a sticky black liquid. David intentionally infects Charlie with a substance he finds inside the vial. He hides a drop of liquid on his finger, dips it in a glass of champagne to celebrate his discovery, and gives it to Charlie. Elizabeth and an infected Charlie later have sex. Inside the pyramid, Fifield and Milburn see a strange snake-like creature emerge from the black liquid leaking from the cylinder. When Milburn tries to examine the creature, it immediately grabs his hand, and wraps around his arm, and in seconds breaks it. When Fifield tries to cut it, the creature's corrosive fluid melts Fifield's helmet, exposing him to the dark fluid leaking from the cylinder. The creature then breaks into his suit and forces its way down his throat. The next morning, Charlie wakes up feeling unwell and notices something strange in his eye. After the storm subsides in the morning, the Prometheus crew returns to the structure and finds Milburn's body, but Fifield is nowhere to be found. David finds a room containing a living engineer and a holographic star map that highlights several distant planetary systems. He watches as holograms of the engineers activate a navigational system. One of the planets that eventually appears is Earth. Suddenly, the system shuts down, and a hologram of Earth is left behind. David finds a lone engineer in a nearby stasis pod and can hear his heartbeat. Meanwhile, Charlie stumbles during their search, and Elizabeth learns that he is ill. He says he is fine, but his infection is spreading too fast, and he starts to feel really sick, so Elizabeth tells everyone to return to quarantine Charlie. By the time they return to the ship, Charlie's skin begins to darken, and Meredith refuses to let her board the ship, citing quarantine protocols. Yannick and Elizabeth begin to argue with her, but Charlie feels there is no future for her, so he goes to Meredith and begs her to kill him, so she burns him to death with a flamethrower. The crew is separated, and David tests Elizabeth, with medical scans revealing that Elizabeth is 3 months pregnant despite being sterile. Which is impossible because 3 months ago she was in cryosleep. The shape of the fetus is also scary and strange, and Elizabeth wants to take it out, but David explains that they do not have the means or the staff to perform such surgery. Elizabeth suddenly has severe stomach pains, so David gives her some medicine to make her sleepy. Some time later, some of the crew awaken Elizabeth to be taken into a cryosleep capsule, but she escapes and uses an automated medical surgery pod in Meredith's quarters to extract a terrifying cephalopod-like creature from her abdomen. She shuts down the pod, trapping the creature in it. Meanwhile, Yannick sees that Fifield's monitor has just turned on, and as he stands outside the ship, a crew member goes to investigate. It turns out to be a mutated Fifield who begins attacking everyone in the hangar. A fierce fight ensues between all the men, and since bullets do nothing to Fifield, they use flamethrowers to kill him. On board the ship, Elizabeth is surprised to see that Peter is still alive and that Meredith is his daughter. He's been sleeping in a secret cryosleep, and only David and Meredith know about it. Peter wants to meet his creator directly because he wants to avoid death. He wants an answer to the question of why they created humans, so David will take him to the engineer he met in the cave. Elizabeth tries to explain that the planet is dangerous and not what they thought, but her warnings are ignored. Yannick meets with Elizabeth and tells her that it cannot be the engineer's planet. The pyramid is probably some military installation where they were making that dark liquid as a weapon of mass destruction, which leaked and killed them. Yannick wants to leave immediately, but Elizabeth persuades him to wait until she gets in touch with the remaining surviving engineers. Meredith doesn't want Peter to go to the pyramid. She tries to explain to her father that nothing is permanent and everyone has to die one day, and what's wrong with that? But she is ignored. Eventually the group reaches the cave, where Elizabeth discovers a warehouse containing thousands of cylinders filled with the dark substance. On the ship, when Yannick and Meredith see a scan of the pyramid, they learn that it is not a cave, it is a starship. David activates the machine, and he explains that the engineers were in the process of departing for Earth, when they lost control of the black liquid, which led to their deaths. The last engineer is awakened, and Elizabeth tries to ask some questions, but Peter silences her with a hit from one of his mercenaries before he can begin asking philosophical questions of his own. David translates into Proto-Indo-European, but the engineer decapitates David, who attacks the group, killing Peter while Elizabeth escapes with her life. Back on the ship, Meredith witnesses Peter's death through David's eyes and orders Yannick to get things ready to leave the planet. The engineer also activates his own ship to fly to Earth. This opens up several areas on the ground, and Elizabeth passes through them and contacts Yannick to tell them that they must stop the alien ship or human civilization will be destroyed, as it is headed straight for Earth. Yannick states that the Prometheus is not a battleship, and Meredith thinks they should leave without doing anything. But Yannick ignores her and orders his pilots to turn on the ion propulsion, which will give the ship the speed of a bullet. Yannick and his 2 surviving crew take off and ram the Prometheus into the engineer's ship, while Meredith escapes in an escape pod. The alien ship crashes into the Prometheus, and Meredith is trapped beneath it and killed, while Elizabeth manages to save her life. Elizabeth goes to the Life Spot module to collect some supplies and hears voices from inside. Grabbing an axe to defend herself, she goes to investigate and learns that her alien progeny have escaped the medical pod and grown to enormous size. The engineer survives the crash and enters the escape pod. He attacks Elizabeth, and Elizabeth immediately opens the door behind her, freeing the alien, who immediately pounces on the engineer. As Elizabeth escapes, the alien forces an ovipositor around the engineer's neck and overpowers him. Elizabeth thinks she is stuck on this planet, but then David contacts her and tells her that there are many more alien ships here and I can pilot them. Elizabeth goes to save both David's head and body. She recovers David's remains from the alien ship, retrieves the cross David took from her, and together they travel to another engineer ship and activate it. Before David and Elizabeth leave the planet on an alien ship, Elizabeth returns to Prometheus one last time and sends a message to Earth explaining what happened. The remnants of Elizabeth and David travel to Paradise, the homeworld of the engineers, in an attempt to understand why they created humanity and later attempted to destroy it. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Have a nice day.